Listen closely, because what I'm about to say may be uncomfortable, but it is the truth. We live in a world filled with self-obsessed individuals who crave admiration, control, and validation, but refuse to acknowledge the pain they inflict upon others. Narcissism is not just a trait, it is a destructive force, one that feeds on your emotions, your time, and your very sense of self. But here's the reality: there are ways to break their hold, to take away the power they so desperately cling to. Many of us have encountered these types of individuals. They are the ones who demand the spotlight, who manipulate to maintain control, and who twist the truth to fit their narrative. Their very presence can be draining, toxic, and suffocating. So what do we do in the face of this? Do we bow down? Do we let them continue to tear us apart? No. Today, I am going to reveal to you 7 ways to confront and expose the narcissist for who they truly are, without compromise, without hesitation. If you are tired of their games, their manipulation, and their abuse, stay with me. If you are ready to take a stand, to break free from the shackles they try to place on your mind, then keep listening. This is not a speech about sympathy for the narcissist. This is a call to arms for your dignity, your peace, and your strength. Are you ready to reclaim your power? Let me tell you something you may not want to hear, but it's something that we all need to face. Narcissists are not who they say they are. They build up an image of themselves perfect, flawless, beyond reproach, but beneath that facade lies a person who is as fragile as glass. And when you confront that glass, when you expose their weaknesses, when you shatter their carefully constructed image, you can watch them crumble. Narcissists are like house of cards built on a mountain of lies, and the moment you expose their insecurities, it's as if the entire structure comes tumbling down. They thrive on an illusion. Their sense of self-worth is constructed from a lifetime of carefully curated images, from exaggerating accomplishments to inflating their importance, to weaving a web of lies that they hope no one will ever pull apart. They need to believe that they are untouchable, invincible, and for that to happen, they can never, never, be exposed for what they truly are. Weak, insecure, and full of fear. This is where the first way to torment them comes in. Expose their insecurities. Narcissists cannot bear the truth of their own flaws, so when you bring those flaws into the light, it shakes them to their very core. Imagine for a moment how powerful it would feel to rip away that image they have worked so hard to build. It's not about mocking them or degrading them in a way that gives them any ground to retaliate. It's about pulling back the curtain and revealing that they are no different from anyone else, no more perfect, no more exceptional than the next person. You see, for all their bluster, for all their arrogance, narcissists are terrified. They are terrified of being exposed. They know they are not as grand, as mighty, as untouchable as they want the world to think. They are terrified that someone will see through their act and expose the truth they desperately try to keep hidden, buried deep beneath their lies. And that truth is simple. They are just as broken as everyone else. When you expose their flaws, when you show them the mirror that they refuse to look into, it destroys their confidence. It shatters their self-image, and they are left with nothing but the stark reality of their own inadequacies. The more you peel away at their mask, the more vulnerable they become. You don't have to shout their weaknesses from the rooftops. No, sometimes all it takes is a subtle remark, a simple question, a pointed observation that makes them realize that someone else sees through them. You confront them with the truth of their own imperfections, and that is something they can never recover from. Not because you have outsmarted them, not because you have tricked them, but because their entire identity is based on a lie. Think about how you would feel if you lived your life constantly needing to prove that you are something that you're not. Imagine walking around with the crushing weight of always needing to appear flawless, always needing to be admired, always needing to be better than everyone around you. Now, imagine someone came along and showed everyone you were trying to impress that beneath the perfect exterior, you are just as human, just as flawed as anyone else. The feeling of being exposed, vulnerable, Stripped bare, that is the very thing that tears narcissists apart. They do not handle failure well. They do not handle rejection, criticism, or even a small dent in their self-image with grace. To a narcissist, every flaw is a wound that must be hidden. Every insecurity is something to cover up, to mask, to run from. Asterisk, asterisk, and when you expose that insecurity, they cannot run. Asterisk, asterisk, there is nowhere for them to hide. The more you make them face their own shortcomings, the more they lose their grip on their carefully constructed identity. But here's where it gets interesting. You don't need to shout or scream at them. You don't need to berate them or insult them. The power lies in subtlety. Asterisk, asterisk, the real power lies in letting them see that you are not fooled. Asterisk, asterisk, that you know they are just as human, just as vulnerable as anyone else. It's not about humiliation or vengeance. It's about taking away the power they derive from being untouchable. You see, they don't want to admit it. They don't want to acknowledge that they are afraid, that they are insecure, that they are just like anyone else. But they are just like everyone else. And once you expose that, once you make them aware that they are not special, not extraordinary, not above anyone else, once you strip them of that illusion, you take away their greatest weapon, asterisk, asterisk, their power over you. Asterisk, asterisk, narcissists will fight tooth and nail to maintain their image. They will lie, manipulate, charm, and deceive. They will stop at nothing to keep up the act. And when you pull back the curtain and reveal the truth, you stop them in their tracks. You strip away their armor and expose them for what they really are, afraid, insecure, and human. And that, my friends, is the beginning of their downfall. The moment they realize that the world sees them for who they really are, the moment they realize they can no longer hide behind their masks, they begin to unravel. Because their entire existence is built on a foundation of lies, and once those lies begin to crack, the whole thing falls apart. This is why asterisk, asterisk, exposing their insecurities, asterisk, asterisk, is not just powerful, it is devastating. It takes away the very thing that they live for, their image. Once you destroy that, they are left with nothing, and nothing is the one thing they fear more than anything else. You have to understand this. The narcissist's power lies in their ability to convince others of their superiority. The moment you show that they are just as broken as the next person, you take away that power. The moment they can no longer pretend to be above it all, they are rendered helpless, and you, my friend, are the one who has forced them to confront the truth. And that is something they can never recover from. There's something about a narcissist that most people fail to understand, something they rely on more than anything else. They live, they breathe, they exist in one constant pursuit, the need for admiration. They crave it, they thrive on it, they feed off the validation of others. Without it, they feel nothing but emptiness. Asterisk, asterisk, this is their Achilles heel, their most vulnerable spot. Asterisk, asterisk, it's not just a preference or a desire, it's a necessity for their very survival. If you take away their ability to be constantly admired, you rob them of the very foundation they stand on, and the most powerful thing you can do to dismantle a narcissist is to simply refuse to admire them. You see, they are like parasites. They latch onto your attention, your praise, your adoration, and without it, they wither. If you stop giving them what they need, stop feeding their egos, you start to see the cracks form. The carefully crafted illusion begins to crumble. They begin to lose their grip. Asterisk, asterisk, and they cannot handle that loss. Asterisk, asterisk, they will fight to the death to keep you on their side, to keep you admiring them, worshipping them, feeding their hunger for validation. But here's the thing, narcissists aren't just after any attention. They don't just want to be noticed, they want to be adored. They want to be the center of the universe. They want to be praised endlessly for their perceived greatness. They want you to acknowledge their superiority at every turn. And when you refuse to give them that, when you stop feeding into their insatiable need for admiration, it shakes them to their core. They start to feel small. They start to question themselves, question their worth. They may put on a brave face, they may throw a tantrum or try to manipulate you, but inside they are dying. When you refuse to admire them, when you refuse to give them the validation they desperately seek, it's as if you are denying them oxygen. They begin to suffocate. They can't breathe without it. Asterisk, asterisk, and that suffocation is a powerful tool. Asterisk, asterisk, it forces them to confront the reality that they are not all-powerful, they are not above anyone else, and for a narcissist this is the ultimate torture. Now, let me tell you something. Asterisk, asterisk, this isn't about being cruel. Asterisk, asterisk, it's not about being malicious or seeking revenge. It's about taking away their weapon, the thing they use to control you, to manipulate you, to keep you locked in their web. The praise, the admiration, the constant validation, that is what holds them in power. When you strip that away, they are left with nothing but their own fragile, insecure selves, and they don't know how to handle that. It's amazing how quickly their demeanor changes when they realize they are no longer the center of attention. They will try to recover. They will try to charm you back, to win you over with their fake humility or their exaggerated displays of affection. But the truth is, they are no longer in control. They can't stand it. They will lash out, they will try to manipulate the situation, but deep down they know they have lost. They know they are no longer the object of your admiration, and that realization is devastating. You see, narcissists believe they are entitled to admiration. They think that they deserve it. They believe they should be treated like royalty because, in their eyes, they are royalty. Asterisk, asterisk, but the moment you stop giving them what they feel they deserve, you strip them of that entitlement. Asterisk, asterisk, you show them that they are no more special than anyone else. You bring them down from the pedestal they've placed themselves on and make them confront the reality of their own mediocrity. And here's where it gets interesting. Asterisk, asterisk, when you stop admiring them, when you stop giving them the praise they crave, they start to question themselves. Asterisk, asterisk, they may never admit it, but they start to wonder why no one is feeding into their narrative. They begin to doubt their own greatness. The cracks that were already there start to widen. They begin to lose their grip on their carefully constructed identity. They begin to realize that without the constant reinforcement of admiration, they have nothing. At this point, they might try to manipulate you into giving them attention again. They might try to guilt, trip you, make you feel bad for not acknowledging their greatness. They will pull out all the stops. But here's the thing, asterisk, asterisk, don't give in. Asterisk, asterisk, don't fall back into the trap. They will try to make you feel like you are the one in the wrong, that you owe them the admiration they think they deserve, but you don't. Asterisk, asterisk, you owe them nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, and when you don't give it to them, when you stand your ground, something remarkable happens. They start to feel insignificant. They start to feel small. They start to feel like they are fading into the background, like they are no longer the star of the show. And that is when their power starts to dissipate. Asterisk, asterisk, when they no longer control your thoughts, your feelings, your attention, they lose their power over you. Asterisk, asterisk, this is one of the most powerful weapons you have against a narcissist. Asterisk, asterisk, refuse to admire them. Asterisk, asterisk, it's simple, but it's devastating. They will try everything to get you back into their orbit, to get you to praise them, to elevate them in your mind. But if you can stand firm, if you can look them in the eye and refuse to buy into their illusion, you will watch them wither. Asterisk, asterisk, and that's the key, you refuse to feed the beast. Asterisk, asterisk, the more you withhold that admiration, the more they lose their grip. It's not just a blow to their ego, it's a threat to their very identity. They are nothing without that admiration. They are empty, hollow, lost, and that is the one thing they fear more than anything else, to be exposed as insignificant. Asterisk, asterisk, to be shown for who they truly are. Asterisk, asterisk, so remember this, when you stop admiring them, when you stop giving them the validation they crave, you take away their power, you force them to confront the harsh reality of their own emptiness. And that, my friends, is the beginning of their downfall. There's one thing about narcissists that they simply cannot tolerate, and that is asterisk, asterisk, the loss of control, asterisk, asterisk. They have to be the ones in charge. It doesn't matter what the situation is, whether it's a conversation, a relationship, or even a group setting. If they are not the ones calling the shots, they feel exposed, threatened, vulnerable. And when a narcissist feels like they're not in control, it's as if their entire world is unraveling before their eyes. Imagine this. A narcissist lives their life like a puppeteer, pulling the strings of everyone around them, manipulating situations to their advantage, bending reality to fit their narrative. But here's the catch. When you refuse to play into their game, when you stop letting them manipulate the narrative, you take away their power, you stop being a puppet, you stop letting them dictate the terms of the relationship, of your emotions, and of your thoughts. And this is where it starts to hurt them. This is where they begin to panic. You have to understand that control is everything to a narcissist. Without it, they are lost. Without it, they are exposed. When they can no longer control the situation or control the people around them, they become completely unmoored. This is their biggest fear, to be left without influence, to be ignored, to be stripped of their ability to dominate the people in their lives. And when you take that control away from them, it's like you've taken away their very reason for being. Now, you don't have to take a dramatic approach here. You don't have to start a battle or wage war. No, the most devastating way to remove their control is simply to refuse to be manipulated to stand firm in your own space, to set your boundaries, to no longer let them dictate how you feel, how you act, or how you respond. For example, how many times have you been in a conversation with a narcissist where they steer the discussion to focus solely on them? How many times have they made it all about their needs, their desires, their victories, their struggles? If you want to torment them, simply stop playing along. Stop letting them control the direction of the conversation. Answer with neutrality, not with validation or sympathy, and watch them scramble to reassert their dominance. You can almost see their minds racing, trying to regain control of the situation, trying to pull you back into their web of manipulation, but you don't fall for it anymore, and it's not just in conversations. Narcissists will try to manipulate you in every aspect of life. They will try to guilt trip you, to make you feel indebted to them, to twist situations to make themselves appear as the victim, as the hero, as the one who deserves your undivided attention. They need to be the center of it all. So, when you stop letting them manipulate you, when you stop bending to their whims, they lose the power they have spent so long building up, and that is when they start to falter. Here's the key. When you take away their control, you strip away their confidence. Narcissists rely on control to keep up their illusion of grandeur. It makes them feel powerful, important, and untouchable. Without it, they're just like anyone else, vulnerable, insecure, and filled with self-doubt. And that is terrifying to them. When you refuse to let them control the narrative, when you stop giving them the satisfaction of bending you to their will, they begin to realize that they are no longer the ones in charge. And that realization is absolutely shattering for them. Think about it for a second. The narcissist has spent their entire life positioning themselves as the one who knows best, as the one who should be obeyed, as the one who is in control of every situation. And then, out of nowhere, you stop giving them that power. You stop playing by their rules. It makes them question everything. They can no longer rely on their manipulation tactics because you have seen through them. And that exposure is the one thing they cannot stand. When they lose control, they lose their identity. They lose their grip on the situation, and they begin to panic. So, when you refuse to be manipulated, when you set boundaries with strength and authority, you are not only taking away their power, you are forcing them to confront the fact that they are not as invincible as they want everyone to believe. And that's when the cracks in their armor start to show. The more they try to regain control and fail, the more fragile they become. Now, don't mistake this for a simple power struggle. This isn't about trying to outsmart them or to beat them at their own game. No, it's much more profound than that. Asterisk asterisk, this is about refusing to be anyone's pawn. Asterisk asterisk, it's about holding your ground, about saying no when they try to manipulate you, about making sure that they understand that you are not going to be swayed by their tactics. When you do this, they feel threatened, they feel exposed, and that's the beginning of the end for them. It's easy to think that you need to fight them, to outmaneuver them, to try to outwit them at every turn. But the truth is, the best way to torment a narcissist is not to engage in their drama, not to play their games, but to simply asterisk asterisk refuse to let them control you asterisk asterisk. When you stop giving them that power, you start to break them down. They can no longer manipulate you into feeling small or guilty or inferior. They can no longer force you to bend to their will, and that is the most disorienting thing that can happen to a narcissist. When they lose their control, they lose their identity, and without that identity they are lost, they are nothing, they are exposed for what they really are, insecure, fragile, and desperate. And that's when you'll see them fall apart, piece by piece, because the one thing that held them together, their control, is no longer in their grasp. So remember this, asterisk asterisk, taking away their control is not just a way to torment them, it is the key to their undoing. Asterisk asterisk, one of the most devastating things you can do to a narcissist, and one that will strike fear into their very soul, is to asterisk asterisk withdraw your emotional investment asterisk asterisk. You see, narcissists are not just looking for admiration or control, they are searching for your emotions. They feed off of your feelings, your attention, and your vulnerability. When they can manipulate your emotions, they feel powerful. They feel like they've won. They feel like they are the ones in charge. But the moment you stop giving them that emotional energy, everything changes. Think about the last time you were emotionally invested in a narcissist. You gave them your time, your energy, your support, your empathy, everything. And what did they do with it? They took it. They took it without a second thought, without any regard for your well-being. They used it to build themselves up, to manipulate you, to control you. They saw your vulnerability as a tool to further their own needs. Your emotions were simply a means to an end for them. Now, imagine something different. Imagine you pull back just a little at first. Imagine you stop reacting to their attempts to draw you in emotionally. You stop feeding their need for validation. You stop letting them dictate how you feel. Asterisk asterisk, that is the moment they begin to panic. Asterisk asterisk, they thrive on your emotional responses. If you stop giving them that, you break the cycle. You show them that you are not a vessel to be drained, that your feelings are not something to be used and manipulated. When you withdraw your emotional investment, they lose their grip on you. You no longer care what they think. You no longer allow them to control how you feel. And that's when they realize they are losing their power. Because for a narcissist, there is nothing more painful than realizing that you no longer care about them, no longer need their approval, no longer crave their attention. Asterisk asterisk, that is when they begin to crumble. Asterisk asterisk, they will fight it, of course. Narcissists don't give up easily. They will attempt to reel you back in, to get you emotionally entangled in their drama once again. They'll try to make you feel sorry for them or guilt you into responding. They might become angry or try to make you feel like you're the one in the wrong. Asterisk asterisk, but don't fall for it. Asterisk asterisk, this is where you must stay firm. When they see that their tactics no longer affect you, when they see that you are no longer emotionally invested, that's when the cracks start to form in their armor. You have to remember that narcissists are emotional predators. They know how to read people. They know what buttons to push. They know how to manipulate emotions to their advantage. But when you stop giving them that emotional power, when you stop letting them play with your heart and mind, you rob them of their greatest weapon. And that is incredibly dangerous for them, because they cannot function without that control. They cannot survive without it. Imagine what happens when a narcissist realizes that they no longer have the emotional power they once had over you. It's like someone has flipped a switch in their mind, and suddenly they are faced with a reality they cannot control. They are no longer the center of your world. They are no longer able to manipulate your thoughts and feelings. Asterisk asterisk that loss is more than they can bear. Asterisk asterisk it's a slow, painful death for their inflated ego. They have no idea what to do when they can't rely on emotional manipulation. This is why withdrawing emotionally is so effective. It's not just about shutting them out or cutting them off, it's about refusing to play into their emotional games. It's about reclaiming your own heart and mind, about taking back the power they've stolen from you for so long. Asterisk asterisk, and when you do this, you force them to confront the fact that they have no control over you anymore. Asterisk asterisk, that's when their world starts to fall apart. You have to be prepared, though. They will try everything to get that emotional response from you again. They'll try to charm you, guilt you, make you feel like they need you. They'll paint themselves as the victim, or they'll use anger to try to provoke a reaction. But remember, this is just another manipulation tactic. Asterisk asterisk, they are testing you. They are trying to regain control. Asterisk asterisk, so when you stop feeding into it, when you stop reacting, you show them that they no longer have a hold on you. They may still try to control the situation, but it will be a futile effort. You won't play along, and that's what will truly unnerve them. Because deep down, narcissists know that without your emotional investment, they have nothing. They are left empty, and they can't stand it. Asterisk asterisk, they cannot stand being exposed as weak and needy. Asterisk asterisk, but you have to be strong too. Withdrawing emotionally is not easy. It's not easy to detach yourself from someone who has been manipulating your feelings for so long. But it's necessary for your own well-being, it's necessary for your freedom, and as you begin to detach, as you begin to reclaim your own emotions, you'll start to see just how much power they no longer have over you. You'll start to feel lighter, freer, stronger. The more you stop emotionally investing in them, the more they will try to claw their way back into your life. But here's the truth, asterisk asterisk, they will fail. Asterisk asterisk, they will try everything, but nothing will work. Because the moment you stop emotionally investing in them, you become invincible, you become untouchable, and that, my friends, is the ultimate torture for a narcissist, because they cannot survive without your emotions. They will try to manipulate your heart to get you to care again, to get you to feel for them, but the moment you stand firm, the moment you refuse to let them back in, asterisk asterisk, that's when you've won. Asterisk asterisk, you've broken the cycle. You've broken their hold on you, and that, in their eyes, is the most humiliating defeat they could ever experience. So remember this. Asterisk asterisk, withdrawing your emotional investment is not just about cutting them off, it's about reclaiming your power, asterisk asterisk. And when you do, they will have nothing left to control you with. One of the most effective ways to inflict pain on a narcissist without lifting a finger, without raising your voice, is to asterisk asterisk consistently expose their lies, asterisk asterisk. Narcissists live in a world of deception where truth is a mere tool to shape their narrative. They weave webs of lies to create an image of themselves as larger than life, as infallible, as perfect. And when they are confronted with the truth, it shakes the very foundation of their existence. You see, their entire identity is built on the illusion of superiority, and when that illusion is shattered, they are left with nothing but their own vulnerability, and they can't handle it. Now understand this, narcissists are masters of deception. They know how to manipulate the truth, twist it to suit their needs, and even create entire alternate realities where they are the hero, the victim, or the one who holds all the answers. But here's the thing, asterisk asterisk, they are fragile underneath it all, asterisk asterisk. They rely on their false image to navigate the world and to maintain control over those around them. And when you begin to expose their lies, when you start pulling apart the narrative they've carefully constructed, you become a threat to their very existence. They can no longer hide behind their facade. They have to face the fact that they are not who they claim to be, and that is a blow they can't easily recover from. Let's think about how narcissists operate for a second. They will lie about anything and everything, their achievements, their relationships, their struggles, their successes. They want to be seen as perfect, as the smartest, most talented, most accomplished person in the room. And when their lies are challenged, when their false image begins to crack, they lose their power. They can't stand the truth because it exposes them for who they truly are, someone who is insecure, who is afraid, who is not as perfect as they portray themselves to be. The beauty of exposing their lies is that it doesn't require aggression or hostility. You don't have to attack them directly. All you need to do is speak the truth calmly, clearly, and confidently. When you begin to call out their inconsistencies, when you point out the contradictions in their stories, you start to erode their power. You start to make them question their own narrative, and that is something they cannot tolerate. They will try to manipulate the situation, of course. They will try to deflect, to twist the conversation, or even to turn the tables and make you the bad guy. Asterisk, asterisk, but you must stay firm in your stance. Asterisk, asterisk, stand by the truth. Let them see that no matter how much they try to avoid it, no matter how much they try to deny it, the reality is undeniable. They are not who they say they are. And that realization cuts them to the core. Narcissists cannot bear to be exposed. The lies they tell are not just about protecting their image, they are about protecting their fragile sense of self-worth. When you expose their lies, you force them to confront the fact that they are not the perfect, all-knowing, all-powerful person they pretend to be. Asterisk, asterisk, they are simply human, just like everyone else, asterisk, asterisk, with flaws, insecurities, and imperfections. And that is a truth they will do anything to avoid. One of the most devastating things you can do is to show others the truth about them. Narcissists thrive on controlling their image, not just with you, but with everyone they encounter. They want to be seen as infallible, as superior, as someone deserving of admiration and respect. But when you expose their lies to others, when you show the world who they truly are, you remove their ability to manipulate and deceive. They lose their audience, and that is where they begin to falter. Without their followers, their enablers, they are powerless. They are left standing alone, exposed, vulnerable, and here's the thing, asterisk, asterisk, the narcissist can't admit to their lies, asterisk, asterisk. They can't own up to the fact that they've been deceiving people. They can't apologize or take responsibility. To do so would be to admit weakness, and that is something they can't afford to do. So instead, they will double down on their lies. They will try to turn the tables, gaslight you, make you feel like you're the one who is delusional. They will try to discredit you, to make you doubt your own perception of the truth. But this is where you need to stay grounded. You need to trust in what you know, because the more they lie, the more they expose themselves. In fact, asterisk, asterisk, the more they lie, the more they unravel, asterisk, asterisk. Their falsehoods begin to snowball, and they start to get caught in their own web of deception. They will try to keep up appearances, but the cracks will start to show. People around them will begin to notice the inconsistencies in their stories. They will begin to see through the facade, and that is when the narcissist starts to panic. Asterisk, asterisk, because for them, being exposed is a fate worse than death. Asterisk, asterisk, you don't have to get into an argument or fight with them. You don't need to become emotionally charged or angry. The truth is your greatest weapon. Asterisk, asterisk, the more you speak it, the more you strip them of their power. Asterisk, asterisk, narcissists cannot handle the truth. They cannot survive in a world where their lies are exposed, and the more you hold them accountable, the more they will be forced to face their own inadequacies. Now, don't get me wrong, exposing their lies is not about trying to destroy them. It's not about revenge. It's about taking away their greatest tool of manipulation. It's about forcing them to live in the reality they've been trying to avoid. And when they are confronted with that reality, they begin to break down. They can no longer maintain their false image. They can no longer manipulate the people around them. And that is where their true vulnerability lies, in their inability to face the truth. So, the next time a narcissist tries to deceive you, the next time they try to spin a story that isn't true, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to expose the lies for what they are. Asterisk, asterisk, the truth will always come to light, and when it does, it will be the downfall of the narcissist. Asterisk, asterisk, the final, and perhaps most subtle, way to torment a narcissist is by simply asterisk, asterisk, removing the pedestal they've placed themselves on, asterisk, asterisk. Narcissists thrive on admiration, on being the center of attention, on being elevated above others as if they are untouchable. They need to be seen as extraordinary, superior, and irreplaceable. It fuels their fragile ego. And the higher that pedestal is, the more precarious their position becomes. The moment you stop viewing them as infallible, the moment you refuse to give them the admiration they crave, you begin to chip away at their carefully constructed world. Think about it. A narcissist's entire existence is built on the need for admiration and praise. ***, they want to be seen as special ***, as above the rest of the crowd. They thrive on being admired for their perceived greatness, whether it's their accomplishments, their appearance, or their intelligence. But underneath all that is a person who is deeply insecure, someone who needs constant validation to feel good about themselves. Without that constant stream of adoration, they begin to wither, and that's exactly what happens when you stop placing them on that pedestal. When you remove the pedestal, you remove the foundation of their entire identity. No longer will they have the power to dominate every conversation, every room they enter, and every interaction they have. The moment you refuse to inflate their ego, refuse to bow down to their false sense of superiority, they begin to feel smaller, weaker, and more insignificant. Their grand sense of self starts to crumble and they can't stand it. Now I want you to imagine a narcissist who has been the center of attention for years, the one everyone turns to, the one everyone looks up to. They've been used to being admired, constantly told how great they are, how much they know, how talented they are. They've been accustomed to people telling them how special they are, how lucky others are to be in their presence. Now picture what happens when you stop feeding that narrative. What happens when you stop giving them the praise they feel entitled to? ***, they begin to feel exposed. ***, without that constant admiration, they are forced to confront the truth. They are not superior. They are not special, they are just another person, just like everyone else, and that is the moment they begin to panic. ***, because a narcissist's self-worth is built entirely on external validation. ***, without it, they are left with nothing but their own self-doubt and insecurity, and that's something they can't bear. It's important to understand that narcissists don't just want admiration, they demand it. They need it to feel powerful, to feel in control. So when you stop giving them that, when you refuse to treat them as if they are more important than anyone else, they are forced to confront the reality that they are just another person in the world, with flaws, weaknesses, and limitations. They can no longer pretend to be above the rest. They can no longer wear the mask of perfection that they've so carefully crafted. This doesn't mean that you need to be cruel or openly dismissive. It's not about belittling them or making them feel worthless. It's about ***, treating them like everyone else ***. When they tell you about their latest achievement or boast about their accomplishments, don't feed into it with exaggerated praise. Don't fuel their need to be seen as exceptional. Instead, give a neutral response as you would to anyone else who is sharing a story. You're not diminishing them, you're simply refusing to elevate them above anyone else. You're showing them that they're not special, they're not above everyone else, and they're not entitled to your admiration. You'd be surprised how this simple act can unsettle a narcissist, because when you stop placing them on that pedestal, you force them to face something they've spent their entire lives trying to avoid, their own inadequacies. They start to realize that they are just a regular person, flawed and vulnerable like the rest of us. This is a painful realization for them because they've spent so much time trying to convince themselves and others that they are perfect, that they are irreplaceable, that they are untouchable. And here's where it gets even more powerful. The more you remove the pedestal, the more they'll try to climb back up. They'll do whatever they can to regain the admiration they once had. They may try to charm you, to win you back over with their manipulation, or to guilt-trip you into giving them the praise they crave. ***, but the key here is to stay consistent. ***, do not be swayed by their attempts to regain their position. Don't be fooled by their charm or their fake humility. Keep treating them like everyone else, and over time they will realize that they are no longer the center of attention. They are no longer the one everyone looks up to, and that realization begins to gnaw away at them. The narcissist will eventually come to understand that no matter how much they try to inflate their ego, no matter how hard they try to make others see them as perfect, the truth is that they are not superior. They are not invincible, they are not better than anyone else, and that truth, while devastating, is the one thing they cannot tolerate. As you continue to treat them like anyone else, as you continue to deny them the pedestal they so desperately want, you begin to break down their false identity. They can no longer hide behind their grandiose image. They can no longer convince themselves that they are better, smarter, or more capable than anyone else. And once that illusion begins to crumble, they start to lose control over the narrative. They lose their power, and that's when their facade begins to shatter. So let me remind you, the most effective way to torment a narcissist is to simply stop treating them like they are special. When you stop placing them on a pedestal, you take away the very foundation of their identity. You force them to face the truth about themselves, a truth they are desperately trying to avoid, and when that truth hits, it's the one thing they can never recover from. They are no longer the center of the universe, and that, my friends, is the beginning of their downfall.